Thank you, Pastor J.C. I also want to mention in the room today with us are a number of legislators, and we thank you for coming as well. Representative Tom Brinkman, Representative Wes Goodman, and Representative Candace Keller, thank you for your time and your support of this good legislation, and also the office of Representative Ron Young is represented here today. I am not only blessed with being a pastor, but I also am the state director for the Family Research Council. And pastors have always been influential in the voice of our nation, in the shaping of our nation, especially when it comes to issues, cultural issues. In fact, it was an incredible pastor by the name of Peter Muhlenberg who in 1776, speaking to his congregation, encouraging them in light of what was happening around them in the culture, that there's a time for all things, a time to preach, a time to fight. You are placed by providence, he said, in this post of honor, a post of honor. And he went on to say, because it's a post of danger. And speaking of the situation of the day, he said, the eyes of North America, the eyes of Europe, the eyes of the whole world are upon you. And I would suggest to us here today that the lives of 60 million aborted babies compel us as we consider the weight of this bill and what it can accomplish and the lives that it can save. Let me suggest that the millions of unborn whose lives are in the balance plead with us that we continue to stand for life, that we continue to stand together, and as pastors and as leaders and as churches continue to strive to influence the culture that God has placed us in. And allow me to suggest that the eyes of state legislatures around this nation are looking at us in this moment of time for leadership and character on this issue. There are many states who will be inspired and will be motivated to also stand. On the issue of the heartbeat bill, as Pastor J.C. mentioned, almost 6 years, pro-life leaders and legislators and pro-life advocates from around the state of Ohio have worked hard to pass this most important piece of pro-life legislation, which was vetoed by the governor of our state earlier this week. This life-saving bill, which prohibits abortion once a heartbeat is detected in an unborn child, would have enacted into law and saved thousands of lives in Ohio each year. We here as pastors and the pastors from around the state are committed to stand together prayerfully for the unborn and stand together in strong support of those who in the legislature are working hard to preserve life and protect the unborn. Our position, first of all, let me mention, is not negotiable. This is an issue for believers that is not something we can have that is a gray area. This is not negotiable. We believe in life, that God is the giver of life, that God is our creator, and we stand. And this is our moment for the state to lead. And it's interesting, and it came up in a staff meeting this week, where the fact that in this state, when a life is taken and an unborn life is taken, there can be a charge assessed on that individual that takes a life. And yet, here in this state, when a heart begins to beat, we are not willing to recognize that as a life, a created life, and giving it the right to life, and abortion is still legal there. We stand committed to preach, pray, and defend a biblical world each and every moment that defends life, that defends marriage and religious freedom. Secondly, our posture of support. We are committed as pastors and as leaders to stand boldly alongside each and every one in the legislature and those in the governor's office, anyone who stands for life. We are there to support. And then there is also a call that we are sending out through this press conference today to not only legislators, but to pastors around this state and leaders to pray for this bill, to pray about this bill, to call your prayer networks together, to lead your churches in prayer, and to partner with each other, business leaders and people of goodwill and churches working together, engaging, making calls, writing letters. And we wholeheartedly, as a Family Research Council and as pastors here today, as Pastor Forbes alluded to, we thank Speaker Cliff Rosenberger for his work in getting the heartbeat bill passed, and we wholeheartedly ask the Speaker to call the legislature back to override this veto. This is a moment, a season of opportunity that we encourage the Speaker and the House to take advantage of to override this. There are just a few votes that are needed. And in closing, I want to, this has come to my mind a number of times, and I want to lay this before you. I've thought often what it would have been like in post-World War II Germany when a child or a grandchild would look at their parents and they would begin to hear about what took place in the concentration camps, and they would hear of the lives that were taken so unfairly. And they would maybe begin to ask questions. Dad, Mom, Grandpa, Grandma, did you know about this? Were you aware of this? Did you understand what was happening? And if so, what were you willing to do about it? And as I think about that and I consider that, and in my mind, I'm thinking about these two precious grandchildren of mine who are on the screen. And I think about their lives and the questions they'll ask me and others in years to come. Will they look back at this moment in time saying, you mean it was legal to take the life of an unborn child? Even after a heartbeat was detected, you mean, Grandpa, that it was possible that that could happen? What did you do? What did you say? What action did you take to try to stop this atrocity? Ladies and gentlemen, may those who come behind us find us faithful. And in this moment of time that God has placed in our care, may we be faithful. May the legislature respond. May leaders respond. And may pastors and congregations respond. And may we take advantage and support and repass this heartbeat bill with a veto-proof margin.